again, welcome to the Wellness Wave. 6 listeners can't be wrong. Welcome back to this is actually be episode 3. This is February Heart Health Month. So it's me, Dan Trongone, your worksite wellness coordinator, here again with Marcus. I'll let him introduce himself, and Clarabelle, I'll let her introduce herself. So today, or this podcast, is for February, all about heart health. We have a lot of things pertaining to the heart, from Valentine's Day. Emotional stress happens with that. So today we're going to talk about our sections that deal with heart health. So my first question and answer session is going to be with Mr. Marcus Harris. Marcus, how you doing, sir?
Doing well, Dan. It's February, so we're happy to be in the month of the heart. So excited to talk about heart health today.
That's it. And like I said, right, the heart's the engine. If that's not working, nothing's working. Big time, right? So let's kind of do a deep dive into your section, Marcus, because again, you can just remind people what you do again real quick.
Sure. So again, Dan already kind of introduced me. My name is Marcus Harris, and I am the nutrition and diabetes educator with Manatee County. So I am your resource for all things nutrition and all things diabetes related.
Awesome. So glad to have you here. So let's dive right in, right? So the first question I want to ask you, sir, what are the key nutrients or foods that can help improve someone's heart health if they have issues, regarding their own personal heart health?
Sure. So one of the top things, first thing that comes to mind, you're going to have those hallmark things. So increasing a person's fiber. Why do we increase fiber? Because fiber helps bind a lot of the cholesterol, especially the excess cholesterol that people bring in via food, and then it helps it pass in the stool. So your body's never able to actually absorb a lot of the cholesterol. So that's kind of a safe haven for that. The other thing is antioxidants and then your good fat. So the antioxidants and fat work very well because they work to lower the inflammation that comes along with food. And a lot of the good fats, as an example, is going to be a lot of your poly and monounsaturated fats, which essentially they're the fats that are from olive oil, nuts, seeds, and avocados, essentially nothing that comes from an animal. So those are great for anti-inflammation.
Wonderful. Now, real quick, can we go back? What fiber? Can you give an example of a fibrous food somebody should maybe kind of eat, and maybe an example of an antioxidant food?
Sure. So your fiber foods are going to be anything essentially that comes from a fruit or a vegetable or a plant. Those are going to be your fibrous foods. So anything with some color in it is going to be your go-to. And that's the same thing that goes with antioxidants. Antioxidants are going to be rich in your fruit and your vegetables. So anything, again, with color is going to be your jam in terms of antioxidants and fiber.
So Marcus, give us a personal example. What's your kind of like go-to fiber, antioxidant, good fat punch, either snack or quick meal for Marcus?
For Marcus, because it's all about me, right? No,
of course.
I have seen that things that work for fiber for me is going to be the trail mix, because it punches a big nut and fiber punch. Typically within trail mix, you're going to have some dried fruit, typically raisins or craisins, something of that nature. And that typically does pretty well along with seeds, walnuts, cashews, almonds. All those are going to have a lot of your poly and monounsaturated fats.
Awesome. Now, for our listeners who are really kind of dialed into this nutrition section, would this be a good template? Can you give them like a verbal template? Hey, if I'm going to go reach for a snack because, I'm starving and I want some heart health, can we sum this up real quick in like a quick healthy snack, like you said, just for the average listener?
Absolutely. So your quick snacks are essentially going to be anything nuts, seeds, or any type of fruit. You're going to be in the driver's seat.
Awesome. Okay, so let's flip the script, Marcus. We talked about the good stuff. What about the bad stuff? Is there anything that leads to poor heart health that we should avoid?
Great question. So I don't want to throw a monkey wrench in here, but fat. So we talked about the good fats, but all fats aren't created equal. So you have saturated fat, which typically is fat that comes from animal, and a lot of those fat from as an example, they're going to be your red meats, your dairy products, as well as a lot of your egg products, so especially the yolk. So that's typically where a lot of your cholesterol will come from in terms of food. So those are going to be foods that will probably lead to poor heart health if you exceed that or have too much of those types of foods.
And again, you're not saying eliminate them completely, right? You're saying change the amounts you're consuming.
Correct. So, we do have, some recommendations for people that's on a typical. So a lot of that information can be found on the American Heart Association. So you'll be able to see, or meeting with a registered dietitian, you'll be able to find out what that looks like for each person. But those are the telltales.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right, how about this? A lot of people always put salt or sodium on their foods. Let me ask you, does this affect of, either too much or too little? Let's talk about the too much side. Would that affect somebody's blood pressure or heart health? And what is like a good amount to take in if I'm worried about the salt for my heart health?
Sure. So salt, as we know, is one of those things that maybe people maybe don't know, but a lot of your sodium and salt, they're usually kind of use interchangeable, which is fine. Your typically your high amounts of salt, high amounts of sodium leads to hypertension, and hypertension, as we know it, is one of those what we call silent killers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's something that we definitely want to manage very well and keep an eye on. So a lot of those foods that we eat in standard American diet, unfortunately, does have loads of sodium in them. So that's something that we definitely have to watch out for.
And hypertension in simple English is high blood pressure.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And you know what the funny part is? The standard American diet, if you break it down in abbreviations, it says SAD.
Exactly.
Isn't that
man.
crazy?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, all right, Marcus, if you had to lower somebody's sodium, again, not a clinical standard, just an average general recommendation, how would you do that? Or tell somebody to do that?
Yeah, so people would typically lower their sodium by cutting back on those foods that actually have salt and sodium in them. A lot of times people get it confused. We think that a lot of the sodium comes from the salt shaker at the table, but in actuality, a lot of it comes from the foods that we just consume. So your foods like, your pizza, your sausages, your deli meats, your breads, fast foods, and anything out of a wrapper typically has a decent portion, significant amount of sodium. So that's foods that we want to kind of watch out for.
Is there any other hidden sources of sodium that people might not be aware of that think, oh, wow, I totally didn't know that was in there?
Yeah, those are like some of those foods that we kind of just mentioned. Like if you have anything that you have to open up out of a wrapper, or your soups, or anything that comes out of a package, those are your hidden sodium places. So all those things, again, will lead to, your hypertension, your strokes, your heart failure, even kidney disease. So it's super important to keep a handle on those.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much for a wonderful amount of insights. Again, Heart Health Month. Marcus Harris dropping knowledge bombs to help lower your risk of heart injury or heart disease. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
You got it. And if anyone wants to, look at more resources, they can find the newsletter that comes out every month, and you can find a few links for this month's newsletter on tips on how to lower your blood pressure and tips on how to keep your heart health, as well as there's the resource for the American Heart Association on the website. So
excellent. Again, right, if somebody really wants it, they'll ask, they'll pursue that knowledge.
You got it.
Thank you so
Thanks
much
for having me,
Appreciate
Dan.
it.
So Dan, we're gonna shift gears a little bit.
Okay, let's do it.
So we talked about the nutrition aspect of how things could be better for your heart. Talk to us a little bit about cardiovascular exercise and that impact on heart health.
Wonderful. So like you and I started before, right? Your heart is one of the most important things that needs to function, because if that's not working, I don't care what anybody says, the rest of you's not working. So cardiovascular exercise, the typical person or gym goer calls it quote unquote cardio, right? This is exercise that stimulates your heart and lungs, your ability for your heart to be a good, what's called blood pump. And what's in blood? Not only the foods you recommend that we deliver, but oxygen. So the stronger your heart, the more you could deliver nutrients such as oxygen, or the vitamins and minerals and the foods you just suggested can be delivered to all the tissues throughout the body. Now, the typical average American doesn't get enough cardiovascular exercise. But what is cardiovascular exercise? This is exercise that is continuous in nature, and it could be a multitude of different things, like walking, jogging, or running. It could be dancing. It could be hiking. It could be a boxing class. It could be jump rope. Anything that is continuously moving in nature, not intermittent where you're stopping and going. Those are more advanced strategies. I'm looking for something that is continuous in nature, anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes up to even an hour. That's and again, right, we want to get that heart to be challenged above and beyond what it normally does safely. Think of your heart as like a car. When you start the car, it idles just, the RPMs. Your heart rate is the RPMs. As you step on that gas pedal, meaning you're going to push the body harder or the car harder, your heart rate goes up. And that's a normal response. And we want that within certain time frames to strengthen the heart and lungs ability to work.
Beautiful, beautiful explanation, Dan. Thank you for that.
Appreciate
it. Talk to me a little bit about the different intensities. So I know you just mentioned, like, when we step on that gas, we're from 0 to 60, and then things start to happen. What do you say to people who are introducing themselves to cardiovascular exercise? How do they know what's too much, what's too little? Like, what are those signs and maybe things to look at? Look for?
Very true. You don't have to have like a bachelor's, master's, PhD to do your cardio program. And we just need you to move, number one. Number two, let's keep it pain-free. So Dr. Peter Attia, who's a medical doctor and big into huge longevity spaces and is a big exerciser, he recommends people do what's called zone 2 cardio. Now, I'm going to kind of chop it up, right? Zone 1 is the easiest amount of cardio you can do. Just move. Like if you and I went out for lunch and we went for a walk, we can easily talk and conversate. That's zone 1. You're moving, cool, but it's not really challenging. That's kind of like daily driving. Awesome. Then there's zone 2. This is where I want people to really do their training once they've started becoming physically active. Like last month we said start, now we're kind of into it. So zone 2 cardio is where you're doing an activity of your choice. Walking, running, jogging, dancing, cycling, whatever you choose to do. Now it's continuous activity, but we want 30 minutes or more, and the intensity should be stepped up. You should be able to have a conversation, but it's not comfortable. You're not gasping for air, but you can talk, but it's a challenging talk. So, for example, let's say you and I go for a walk, and I'm like, Marcus, how's everything going? Blah, blah, blah. That's an easy conversation. What I want to see is zone 2, where it's like, hey, Marcus, I'm good. How are you? How you doing? So it's like slightly labored, where you feel challenged, but you're not crushed. And most people, let's say if you're a jogger or a runner, the average person can't really handle that jogging aspect. I want somebody who loves walking, and if they can, go on a treadmill, and then instead of changing the speed of their walk, let's raise that elevation so they get a challenge to get to that zone 2, and then sustain that zone 2 for 30 minutes. And again, what we need to do is most people are super sedentary, and think of it as just like the heart's not doing enough work and the blood's getting kind of sludgy like molasses, right? We don't want anything to stick. We want it to be kind of like smooth like butter. I know that's your favorite song, but it's also my favorite song too, right? We want that heart to pump and get that blood moving. So, right, the heart is actually a muscle, and most people don't use it. It becomes detrained. Right? We need that heart to get stronger. So we do talk about the stuff you talked about in the nutrition. Hey, I want to lower my blood pressure. I want to have more energy. So zone 2 cardio is what we're looking for based on whatever activity that person wants to do. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, Dan. It sounds like the month of February, we should choose something that we want to do that's the right amount of intensity and that's going to make us feel good and obviously get us the results. Correct. Where do we find this information? Is there any resources to tell us about these different kinds of cardiovascular activities?
Correct. So we do have Manage to Your Choice, and when you log on to that website, that's everything that the Wellness Center has. We do have a fitness tab if you dive down deeper. All our trainers are trained, no pun intended, to prescribe cardio exercise to your ability. Remember, everybody's different, right? I might be fit, but if I'm comparing myself to Marcus, I'm a different type of fit. Or if I'm comparing myself to somebody else, they're a different type of fit too. So when you meet with a trainer to kind of get like a roundabout idea of, hey, where should I start with my fitness ability? Meet with a trainer, use your 5 free to kind of get that zone 2 training started, or at least you have an idea of how to work up to that.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Beautifully done. Well, I appreciate it, Dan. This has been a great talk on the exercise portion of fitness. So
thank you so much.
We'll hear what Clarabelle has from the
I
mental
know.
space.
I look forward to it, man. Heart health is super important, and she's the head of the spear, as I like to call it. So let's get her up here. Miss Clarabelle Gill, long time no see. How you doing?
Doing well, Dan. How are you?
Good, good. Real quick, can you just remind everybody again what you do exactly, just in a short, sweet, to the point?
Okay,
here at Manatee County?
So like Dan says, I am the Claribel, the lab therapist. I provide service to Manatee County. If you have any kind of like related mental health or anything that you needed to talk about that you're going through in your life, that's what we're there for.
Perfect. Perfect. So like Marcus and I were talking before, because this is February Heart Health Month. And let me ask you this. This is your wheelhouse or space. Can mental health be associated with a heart disease or heart sickness?
Yes, Dan, good question. Evidence showed that mental health disorders such depression and anxiety and PTSD can develop after cardiac events,
Okay.
including like heart failure, stroke, and a heart attack.
Okay.
This disorder can be brought after having acute heart attack, which means that when people go through having a heart attack or going through those kind of situations, after they go through that, what they came up with is like worry about financial problems. Worry about it like what's going to happen next. Is it going to be okay? Worry about if they're going to be disabled. Like all of that coming to mind when coming to play when they go through those kind of heart attack or having any kind of those kind of condition. They worry a lot about what's going to happen with me from now on after I get those kind of signs. But the other flip is that a lot of the members who have high blood pressure and also having mental health problems, they having a hard time accepting I have a heart health.
Okay.
So when they go through this, like having a hard time accepting that, they start getting depressed. They start getting anxious, like how am I going to take care of myself? How am I going to eat? What is it that I have to eat? What kind of exercise that I have to do? I'm going to die. Like what's going to happen? Do I have to take medication? So all this kind of side effect comes to mind after you get diagnosed. It's a flip side when you get have a heart attack, and the other way is when you already have those kind of mental health diagnosis that is affect you. How are you going to go on with your life?
So you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Whatever underlying mental condition they're dealing with when they see you, anxiety, stress, depression, it's having a horrific effect on their heart health.
Yes.
Or they might have poor heart health and they're dealing with those said disorders, which is even amplifying the negative heart stress even more.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. In my experience, when I see like both sides, when I see members, that like when they come and say like I just got diagnosed with heart disease, right? Blood pressure, like I'm worried about it, like how I'm gonna take care of myself. I'm gonna live long enough to take care of my family. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to work anymore. How am I gonna put myself, take care of myself? It's a lot of things that are going on in their mind. It's a lot. It's a lot of pressure that they're going through. But the first thing is like ask the member, what exactly do you expect that is going to happen from now on? How are we going to make you self like start believing that you're going to be okay if you take care of yourself? Let's do what we need to do. What I know that you worry. I know how is that is affecting you mentally. But let's start with something simple that you can follow. That you can. Let's say that it says medication, right? Talk to your doctor about the medication that you are taking. Make notes before you go and see the doctor. What is a side effect that I can have from this medication? What I can do different? Can I take any medication to relax myself so that I can feel much better about myself? So it's a lot going on. But on the other side is like when the person got, like I said from the beginning, they already have a heart attack. And then the worries that they have is about like what they believe in their mind, what's going to happen in their future, like how it's going to be my life from now on.
Right. So the bad heart condition is exacerbated or made worse due to the mental condition.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. When somebody sees you and you notice this right off the top, because you definitely said your psychological stress has a negative heart health. Have you personally seen when somebody comes in and they're like whacked out on anxiety and you got a chance to calm them down after, the session rolls on? Have you seen a noticeable difference when they leave you?
Yes, I do see it, Dan. A lot of the time when members, they come and see me, they go through a lot of stress. It's something that's going on in their life.
Whatever it is.
Whatever is happening in their life that is causing to have a high blood pressure, right? So when they come to those kind of problems and we talk about it, like, what can we do? That's the first thing. What do you think that is out of control what do you think that is within your control? Let's talk about first what is out of your control, because the negative thing has to go first so the positive can be last. So whatever we talk about at the end, that's what they're going to stick in their head, right? So we talk about like what is the things that you feel that you're not able to do. Why? Okay, so you're not able to do anything. We're going to make a checklist in there. We're going to leave it in there. Let's go now the things that you can do. Let's talk about this. Like, okay, you can do this, how you can reach out to people that you know, how you can talk to your doctor about it, and how you can make things that you can eat that is healthy for you, how to kind of some recommendation. You go to the end of the session, they go like, oh my God, I can do something about it. I was like so overstressed and overwhelmed because going through this stress situation with being high blood pressure and lead to have a heart disease, and it's hard for them to think about it. But then at the end of the session, like they have a clear mindset of what they would like to see happen in the future and how they would like to accomplish any changes, like they feel more at ease of themselves.
So you feel like, from what it sounds like, you put them back in a reality check. Go, hey, facts are our friends. Let's look at what you can control, and then we work from there. Because correct me if I'm wrong, I'm somebody who, just like any other human, battled my own obstacles. When people start saying these weird things to themselves, I can't do ... What is the take-home message you can relate to our audience when they're by themselves and let's say they're having a stressful situation? What are some things they can do by themselves, like what you just said, so they can kind of keep themselves calm till, they see you or, God forbid, have a heart condition happen?
Do you know what I do? It's something that I feel that I have a talent to do, is that when the members see themselves negative about any situation that they're going through, I ask the question 10 times. The same in a different way, the same question.
Can you give me an example real quick?
Like, let's say, like, so you feel that you're not able to do something because you don't have the mean to it. So I let them talk, right? So then they say the same thing, but repeating themselves like they're not able to do anything. And I ask the question again in a different way until I get a good answer for them. So usually that's how I do it. Like I ask a question about 10 times until they get to realize that what I'm saying, it doesn't make sense. I need to think different.
Oh, yeah, I love it. That's a great strategy. So let's repeat that one more time. Whoever, let's say it's me, right? If I'm dealing with a stressful event, keep repeating that question over and over. I'm kind of like sifting it, right? Sifting the reality out of that horrible brain panic. So the 10 questions, ask it yourself over and over till you come to a reality point, and then you eventually realize, hey, it's really kind of not that big of a deal.
Yes, and that's usually what the end of the session that is end up like that.
Oh,
they
that's perfect.
that.
That's
Yes.
perfect. I love it. So, Clarabelle, real quick, just like Marcus and myself, where could people find your information to kind of, make these appointments if they needed to?
So you can go to Manatee Your Choice on the website there, and you can find all our information and lab information, and also the mental health benefit for Manatee County.
Awesome.
You can also go to the newsletter every month. That's where we're going to have all this information, the podcast, that service that we offer, and how we go about everything we have on mental health.
Excellent. You're such a treasure, helping a lot of people that do need help. Thank you for your time here, and hope everybody listens to all 3 segments and advances their heart health to a better place. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.